Welcome back to GTD. It is time for things that go on wheels, and it's F1 this week because the NASCAR season's been over, and I don't want to talk about it because Joey Logano. But
this one's almost over as well.
Yeah,
this is the last
only got
race.
one more.
Championship's already over.
It was Qatar. Well, not all of them.
Right, but
yeah.
I don't know if we've talked since he won the championship. So Verstappen,
Verstappen's champion of the world.
Which you already know that if you're watching this.
Yeah, hooray.
But Constructors Cup is still on the line. We'll get into that later.
Let's talk about Qatar, though.
Let's do it.
Max Verstappen, W.
Max did win. There's some controversy with his win, though. Well, not really with his win, but him and George Russell got into it. Maybe a little rivalry brewing.
I think this is the first time I've seen Max go this at someone in a while. Since, Crash Stappen days.
Yeah, he's gotten a little heated with Norris, especially throughout this season that we've had. Not like this.
Not like this at all.
So if Max was in George's scenario, he would do the exact same thing.
I will say the one caveat is we don't know what was said in the room.
That is true.
We have no idea what was said. We have no idea what Russell was doing, but I can absolutely see Russell being the guy, especially him being the leader of the GDPA, the Grand Prix Drivers Association, to be in there now, stewards, Max clearly broke this rule, and even though I was also on a slow down, cool up lap, whatever, that it should still be considered driving unnecessarily slowly. And on the one hand, I do think Max would at least want the penalty. I don't know that Max is the kind of guy to campaign for a penalty that is so obviously stupid.
I agree.
I think that everyone knows that should not have been a penalty, and...
I think the most Max would have done is complain about it on his radio, maybe say something if he's passing by a steward, be hey, look into this.
I think Max says something to the press about it. If Russell does that and doesn't get or if they investigate Russell and don't give him a penalty, I think Max maybe drops a comment in the press or something, nothing too crazy, but you know how Max is.
Yeah.
Whereas for Russell to campaign about it, I think that's George just being a competitor, and I think it's too far for Max to say, I've lost all respect.
I think Max's mindset is, why does it matter? We have 2 races left. I've already won the championship. Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
But George hasn't won a championship, let alone 4. And, he was a race winner. He wants to win races.
Yeah.
So I don't fault Russell for doing what he did.
I did love the Max quote of, I told him I was going to get it back into turn 1 anyway. And then he did. That was cool.
I knew Max was going to win the race anyways after that. But, a little bit of that.
But let's keep talking about the FIA while we're on the FIA. And... first off, the disaster of the weekend that is the mirror on track.
Yeah.
How? If you've ever watched F1 at all and you see a mirror on you know what's going to happen. You know someone's going to hit that. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, we sit there for 4 laps. Valtteri Bottas tries to get out of the way, runs over the mirror, and I don't know if the FIA just thought, oh, it's gone. Yeah. There's still debris. Yeah. And then... obviously, drivers run over the debris and get cut tires. And I would love to see the look on Lewis or Carlos's faces when they found out that the FIA left that there for that long.
Yeah, no kidding. That was...
oh my goodness.
That was abysmal.
What on earth?
I don't know why they hired Ferrari to make decisions, but give it back. Give it back. That's bad. That reminds me of the NASCAR championship. Was it the championship or the cutoff race before Martinsville? Where there's just Kyle Busch's tire.
Yeah, it was Martinsville. Where the tires, and everyone knows it's going to need to be.
Yeah, so I don't know what these organizations are doing when they're supposed to be watching and scanning everything.
You flat out, there is no other way to say it than the FIA has ended 2 drivers' races there.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's a safety concern.
Yeah,
you can't leave a mirror in the middle of the track.
Yeah, especially in Lewis's one of his final races with Mercedes. You can tell he was done. He even said, I'm boxing the car. And then I guess he had a moment of realization, it's not about me. It's about
that was funny, though. He was like, can we retire the car? And Mercedes was like, no.
No, and then a lap
Mercedes
later.
Like, Lewis, boxer, retire the car. And Lewis is like, no.
Yeah, but I think he realized this is more than me. This is all the guys who work on the car throughout the season. So good respect there. On a more positive note, Joe Guan Yu in the points.
Yes.
So good for him.
Joe points.
4
points for Guan Yu, Joe Guan Yu.
Joe Mo points.
Yes, facts. And I think this is kind of the best version of Joe Guan Yu, and I feel like we haven't got to see it much a lot of the time because he's driving a wheelbarrow back there in the stake. But now that the Sauber's kind of improved, you're seeing these drivers put in better performances. Even Bottas was almost in the points until Norris got him back at the end of the race. And let's talk about the Norris penalty. So,
another FIA.
I know a lot of people are upset about the Norris penalty. My thing is, you cannot do that. It is you have to slow for yellow flags.
Yeah.
That is a normal penalty, in my opinion, for failing to slow for yellow flags. However, I think the FIA waiting to do it as long as it did absolutely shafted Norris.
Yeah.
If the FIA finds that immediately after the complaint, looks at the video, and it took, in real time, let's say the FIA gets the complaint, they then watch the video, and then they go, yeah, he failed to slow for yellow flags. That should be, 3 laps max?
Not even.
Not even that. And then you can say, okay, Norris, that's a penalty. And then he does it under green, and then maybe when the safety car comes out, he's running 6th.
Yeah.
And can fight back up through after the safety car. Instead, you wait 1,000,000 laps, and then you penalize him after the safety car, and then his race is finished.
Yep.
So I think it's a fair penalty. Even Norris said it's a fair penalty. He said it himself. It is a fair penalty. But the FIA waiting so long to enact it absolutely ruined his race.
Yeah, I think the penalty may be a little strict. I think a pass-through would be the sweet spot for that.
No,
I think
failing to slow for yellow flags is like that is just about the worst thing you can do on track. It's especially double wave yellow. Norris does not. All the information he has is double wave yellow. So for all he knows, he comes around the corner and there's a marshal on the track.
Okay, that's a fair point. You put it in better perspective for me. I forget a lot of these times these drivers don't know at all what's going on. But yeah, I think. I mean, how long? He did start to slow down pretty. I mean, it was after the flags, but
the clip they showed, he did not lift at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did not lift at all.
Okay.
Because a lot of drivers get away with it if they just barely lift at all. And then also, we don't know how many other drivers flat out didn't lift and the FIA didn't look at it.
That's true.
I don't think Norris gets a penalty at all if Verstappen isn't savvy enough to say, oh, he gained on me in that yellow flag, he must have not lifted.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the FIA is just taking a nap up there.
That was kind of like my thing. Like, I know drivers do this more often, and like for him to get the short end of the stick there.
It's unfortunate that it's not enforced evenly, but if you're caught doing that, I think you should expect that penalty.
Yeah, that's fair because it's okay. But let's talk about Abu Dhabi because that is the last race of the year. Another full season. We've gone through NASCAR, MLB now. Another full season that we've covered for the first time. Let's throw away. Let's go to our predictions first, and then we can talk about storylines of the race.
Yeah.
I have Max, Lando Norris, and Oscar Piastri.
All right, I think that's fine. I have Max, Charles Leclerc, and Lando Norris. I'm backing my guy again. I think that the McLaren and Ferrari pace here is probably going to be fairly similar. Mm-hmm. There's a lot more of these long straights. Ferrari's had better straight line speed, and there's less of these high, quick speed corners that the McLaren loves so much. I think it'll even the playing field between them. And honestly, I think the Red Bull could turn up as a 17th place car and Max would still win right now. He is on form.
Yeah, I think my problem with Ferrari, the top three, is I think they're behind the constructors' points. So Ferrari's going to do something they think is genius to get those points.
That's a very good point, actually. They're going to go, we've changed the rear wing. It's now made of potato chips.
And it's going to backfire dramatically. So that's I don't think they're going to finish outside the points. I just don't see him in front of the McLarens this weekend.
You're actually so right, but I'm going to stick with what I have anyway. You're actually so right, though.
Yeah. But yeah, so let's talk about the Alpine situation because I think we're both on the same boat in this one.
So if you haven't heard, Alpine has benned off Esteban Ocon, and they're putting Jack Doohan in the car for the final race of the season, kind of just because they can.
Yeah.
Since Ocon's not back for next year, and this is the dumbest, most disrespectful thing.
It's bad looks. That's a bad principle, in my opinion.
Ocon has brought you your only win is Alpine. Your only second place is Alpine.
Was on the podium 3 weeks ago? 4 weeks ago?
And even just the common decency of it, even from a competition perspective, you're still in a fight with Haas for 6th in the Constructors Championship.
For a lot of money.
There's a $30 million difference, and you go, let's stick a rookie in.
Yeah.
It's the most Alpine, the most petty thing I've ever seen. It is so dumb. I just don't get it at all. It's so disrespectful. And you look at how other drivers or other teams are treating their drivers for the last race. Ferrari, their poster for this weekend for Abu Dhabi, and normally they have both drivers. It's just Carlos Sainz on it. It's a nice tribute to Carlos, a beautiful. Even though we're sending you off, hope you have a great rest of your career.
Yeah, which is kind of backfiring a lot of things they've done to Sainz
to be fair, I think if it's you kind of have to allow for the fact that it's Lewis Hamilton coming in. I would not.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're not going to not signing that guy.
Yeah, I would not be surprised at all if Hamilton retires and Carlos goes right back to Ferrari.
After the year, and you can kind of sense the Sainz-Ferrari relationship kind of going down the drain. I doubt it, especially with Cadillac coming in. That's a whole new team that hopefully is competitive, and Audi coming in a few years as well. If the grid stays the same, I could see it just because he's a competitor and wants to win and compete week to week. But with those two teams being added, and you would assume they'd be competitive just because one's got a whole country backing it. One's going to show it for America, hopefully.
Sorry, Haas. Cadillac is the new American team.
Yeah. So I don't think he goes back to Ferrari. Just kind of he's kind of been there's a little tension right there.
I think he's a personality that wants to lead a team.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think that that's still what Ferrari have done, what Sauber are doing for their drivers. It's a much better send-off than Alpine going, you're done, get out of the car.
Yeah. But speaking of Ferrari, constructors, do they win it?
No.
The answer is McLaren.
Yeah,
you probably knew that by our podium picks.
They would have to overturn a 21-point gap. So even if they finish 1-2, I'm pretty sure McLaren would have to finish either 4-5 or 5-6.
I think
depending on the fastest lap point. I think if they get 5-6 without fastest lap, they tie, and then Ferrari would win. It's something like that.
There's a world where it happens, but it's not this one.
It's possible, but very unlikely is the point, especially with Perez finishing 18th or whatever he's going to do this weekend.
And with that, all we can do is watch the conclusion to this season that ended 4 weeks ago in Las Vegas.
Why is the conclusion not Vegas? The answer is oil money. But
you went to conclusion to be Vegas? I'm glad you said that because you weren't a big fan of Vegas.
No, I was not a big fan of Vegas when it was first introduced as a track, but now that you've had 2 back-to-back good races, is that not the perfect environment for a finale?
I would do 100%. That would be awesome if they made Vegas.
I think if it wasn't for the big money you see come in from the Middle Eastern area of the world, I think Vegas would have a chance. So maybe I would love to see that as the finale. I think it's F1 loves their little show at the end of the year, and I think Vegas is the perfect way to do that.
If we ever get in a situation, which will happen eventually, where it comes down to the last race,
I want to see a track where you can pass, and you cannot pass at Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, so I'm very okay with that. But with that being said, all we can do is watch and cry when the season's over, and play with our diecast.
Yep.
Adios.